The rise of World War II shooters has made a massive impact on the FPS scene in the last few years. After almost a decade of hiatus from the AAA World War II games, titles such as Postscriptum, Hell Let Loose, Day of Infamy took to the gaming world to bring back this beloved genre, along with Call of Duty World War II and Battlefield 5 doing the same to more mixed results. But there was no better time for new IPs to start popping up and put their hat in the World War II gaming ring. This applies better to none other than Battalion 1944. Bulkhead Interactive's attempt to recapture the days of Call of Duty World at War with modern graphics and new mechanics. It was set up to be the next big, fast-paced World War II shooter and had the hype to back it up. Yet it never came to be. So what really happened to Battalion 1944, the Call of Duty clone that failed? The game was released in May of 2019, however it goes back 3 years all the way to 2016 when it first made its impact, launching on Kickstarter to crowdfund its development and release. The hype around it was so big that the project itself was funded within 3 days, soon then to be picked up by the behemoth publishing studio that is Square Enix. With early access tests underway, it looked like the game was staying away from that hardcore approach that games like Hell Let Loose and Postscriptum were championing, but wanted a faster paced, albeit less realistic take on the genre. A big focus on 5v5 combat, fast flick shots, and rounds that could be swayed with a single solid play or sly ace from a skilled team member. Battalion itself was promoted to be the next level in what Call of Duty initially started, at least in the early days. The gameplay was pretty well received and many started to compare it to the likes of CSGO and other fast-paced shooters. In 2019, the game supposedly, according to the developers, sold 250,000 copies. So commercially, it was a success, yet it never took off. I mean, this had to be probably one of the fastest dying multiplayer shooters I have ever seen. It released and went away pretty much within the same year and was slated as a disaster. So then, why did Battalion 1944 fail? Well, for one, server issues plagued the title within its launch, pretty much not working at all within the first 3 days of the beta, which, yeah, with the recent introduction of Steam refunds, you can kind of guess the devastating results of that bad launch, especially with a title that many people kind of seem to misunderstand. You see, upon its promotion, it wasn't quite clear exactly the direction the game was taking. Of course, later as early access came out, we saw that it was this faster-paced CSGO-esque title, which some liked. But initially, it looked as if it was going to be a very team-orientated Day of Defeat kind of game. A title that was mentioned a lot in the promotional material, an adaptation of a popular Half-Life 2 mod. Day of Defeat was incredibly well loved. Yet, the closer and closer to Battalion's release, the more liked Call of Duty it seemed to get, and whilst that had been mentioned in the promotional material, it wasn't really the focus. They promoted it as if it was the early Call of Duties that this game was being based on. Yet, by the final launch, going with that run-and-gun trick-shot kind of game, many people comparing it to the disappointment that was Call of Duty World War II. They were right saying they were inspired by COD. Just the wrong one. So not a great start. Additionally, it was very clear that the developers wanted nothing more than to make Battalion 1944 a competitive shooter, an esport bigger than any other. Integrating Face It with mixed success, this was adding full competitive matchmaking features and the ability for tournaments within the game. However, the game wasn't established to start with. It didn't have a big enough player base to make esports work. All these disasters aside, there was also some controversy on the developers' side. The game itself was on PC, but a console version was promised. But that never actually launched, despite them allegedly selling keys or digital copies of the console version on their Kickstarter backer page. So people bought a console key and it never launched on console. That's an instant red flag. Yet according to them, they sold a decent amount of copies. There was also a few other weird points, like they said that the game became too popular for their studio. That's kind of a weird thing to say. So, Bulkhead missed the mark with 1944, but what happened to them? They came out last year to say that they're working on a new title. Going by the name of ProMod, it's another competitive shooter. Yeah, how fun does that sound? Let's hope that they don't go down the crowdfunding route, but honestly, from what they've been saying, it could seem like that is a potential. They mentioned in their introduction to ProMod that they talk to investors, but they don't really want to go that way. So how are they going to get the money? Let's hope it's not crowdfunding. Because will anyone trust them again? They already raised so much money with Battalion 1944. Not only did the Kickstarter do incredibly well by reaching its goal within the first 3 days, but it also sold 250,000 copies according to the developers. Which is a lot, especially for a multiplayer-only first IP. So, would players put any trust in them again to make something that's really worth their time? I don't know. I don't think they're irredeemable. Second chances is always a good thing in the gaming industry after an initial disaster. But when it comes to specifically the crowdfunding portion, I think that might just be a bridge too far.
And as far as everyone else was aware, that was the end of it. Or was it? This was actually one of the most baffling things that I found when I was trying to research this game. Bulkhead weren't actually done yet. Whilst the game has absolutely no players, a year ago, they released a trailer for Battalion Legacy. It was a trailer summing up the success, or the minimal success the game had had, streamers that played it, and the bits and pieces it did in esports. Then they released an update with it. British faction were included, with over 30 new weapons, with updated UI and private server hosting. Okay, well, that's a start. Maybe this game might actually redeem itself. Until literally a week later, and it was made free.
What? What?
Yeah, that update clearly didn't bring in the new players that they wanted to, and it probably cost them quite a bit of money for the development time. Not only that, but Square Enix leaving, which is most likely what happened, was not a great sign for the future. Battalion Legacy was now free on Steam, and it still is to this day. Then very soon after, they released this.
Okay. I always wonder how people see Battalion.
With the help from the Kickstarter campaign, we're able to build a full prototype and create something we could actually pitch to publishers.
So today, we'd like to announce that we're offering a full refund to all Kickstarter backers, regardless of platform, pledge tier, or time played in the game.
Yep, refunding absolutely everybody, stating how it is about the goodwill to try and keep people and a community that is more important than the quick cash. I mean, that seems very fair, and I guess they do feel a little bit guilty. It does look like the studio is doing fine, actually, in terms financially. This company do seem to have some great ideas, but as they've stated in many of their formal interactions with the community, they have fantastic ideas, but the execution just doesn't seem to be there. And there was a lot of potential in Battalion 1944, at least Battalion Legacy as it is now, especially making it free to play, which is probably what they should have done at the beginning, because there is some very satisfying gameplay. It is fast paced, which doesn't necessarily lean towards the World War II audience, but I think they could have gotten away with it. And this is where it is now, the Legacy update with this, well, I'm assuming this is the new British faction. And it's pretty much as you'd expect. Bots, not a single other player on the game. But hey, what more could you really want? Was that bot jiving about? I mean, these bots actually seem kind of deadly. Oh, God. Now, I'm going to be honest. The gunplay is actually still very satisfying. I'm not sure entirely how much you're going to love this, though, if you're a World War II fan, because, I mean, I'm quick-scoping with a goddamn sniper rifle. Oh, I wish they'd lined up perfectly there. There we go. They lined up perfectly, those two. Those two lined up perfectly. So you can get double kills with this thing. Very, very cool. Oh, shit. Thanks, Bot Ash. Appreciate your service to the British Army. Hello. Oh, I didn't reload. Is there going to be like a cool position upstairs that I can take? Oh, there's a balcony here. That's what I like. 2 in a row. Don't chase me down. Don't chase me down, sons. Breach and clear, breach and clear. Get out of my flat. Ooh, there's a cool... Get out of my building! So where does it stand in FPS games? Well, along with many of them, a game that had an attempt that didn't live up to any expectation, and unfortunately just the way it goes being Kickstarter made fans left feeling a bit taken advantage of. But at least now they have refunded things, which is a step in the right direction, I guess. Well, at least I can shoot a few more bots.